The mainstream media suck. And I don't even know why I'm calling them the mainstream media. They're not mainstream at all. They're not mainstream. They're not Heartland. They're not Homeland. They're not usual. I don't know who these people think they are. What they're doing is they are talking to themselves. They're reporting about themselves. They have become the story. They have become all about them. They've been talking about how they are being mistreated by this president, how they are not fake news, how Jake Tapper, that pathetically that waste of time. Jake Tapper lamenting, crying, waxing lachrymous as far as it's un-American what this president's saying. Mika Brzezinski, completely breathtakingly incoherent morning joke. What are they talking about? They're talking about themselves. And America and the public don't want to keep talking about themselves or don't care about you and how you feel mistreated and slighted by this president. Nobody cares. Nobody's listening to this. You have abnegated. You have relinquished, abandoned your responsibility. And there's nobody to blame but you. And I'm telling you this. I mean, it is so bad. And you know who is absolutely making out like gangbusters in this? Fox News. Fox News is just, I mean, they don't even have to, they don't have to do anything. You know, there's a phrase in criminal law and police work. Whenever there was a real easy case, it's called a grounder. There was a case one time here in New York where on the Upper East Side, there was a murder years ago. And the murderer, the suspect, the perp at the time, the unknown assailant, the murderer, left a handprint, a bloody handprint on a glass of this dry cleaners. And the police came and took a print and ran to the computer and, oh, that's who it is. It's this guy. I mean, they had him like that. It was a grounder. They said, great detective work. Well, it was, but I mean, there's nothing, it's like you handed it to him. That's what Fox is. You've given Fox a grounder. I was almost said a hand job, which in many respects that analogy may work as well. I mean, this is beyond incredible. I'm going to tell you something. On a personal level, I love this more than you can imagine. And I'm not even getting to the issues, for the most part, nor is anybody else, that Trump should be handling. Let me remind you of something. My bit, my shtick, my piece, my position in this is not, gee, let's talk about how bad the media are. I try to get away from that. I'm going to be doing some other things as well, but I can't help it. Jake Tapper. First of all, who at CNN is running the show? Who is saying, I mean, I don't want names, I know theoretically on the masthead, but who is saying, Jake, go out there and cry like a little baby girl, little girl. Is that sexist? Maybe. But you should go out there and cry and bemoan the fact and belabor the fact that this is un-American. And by the way, Hollywood, what you need to do, this is amazing. What Hollywood is doing is they're, again, talking to themselves. Jodie Foster and UTA are meeting. They want to ratchet back, reel back, dial back, remove the hate or whatever the hell. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But whatever it is that you're doing, they're alienating themselves from the rest of the country. The rest of the country, and we'll talk about that in a moment, does not feel this way. Not only conservatives, not only Trump supporters, but a lot of people don't understand what you're saying. They don't understand, first of all, what your point is regarding immigration because you don't have a point. What is it that you would like to do? What would you like to do? You don't like Trump's immigration policy because of what? What exactly? Fill me in. You don't what? What about what and what would you do in its place? I mean, you want an immigration policy, right? Right? You do, don't you? Okay. What would you like to be done? What in lieu of this particular program would you like to have done? Nobody wants to hear you report about you. Nobody wants to hear you talk about you. What it is these are a bunch of actor types who are basically in a scrum to see who can get to the top, whether it's Shia LaBeouf or whether it's George Clooney, to see who can Merrill Lynch, trying to claw their way to prominence and preeminence so that they can establish themselves as the voice of Hollywood or whatever it is. Let me explain something. When you get too involved in a particular way of thinking, you think everybody thinks like that. I have known people who, in the world of drugs, they use drugs, especially in the late 70s or in the 80s when cocaine was really, I mean, it did not have its, believe it or not, its negative connotation. In fact, the Rolling Stone Encyclopedia of Recreational Drugs said that it wasn't addictive. So nobody really knew. Paul Newman walked around with a razor blade. People thought it was posh and hip. It was like Cristal. And it was, anyway. There are some people who were involved so much so in the world of cocaine that they thought everybody did cocaine. So they would pull out a vial or pull out a Deering or pull out a, one of those things and start doing it. And people would freak out and you say, what? What? Because they didn't realize that not everybody is so at home with drug abuse, okay? Or drug use, I should say. Now, what these people are suggesting now, those people in the media, is that everybody thinks kind of like they do. Because, see, they hang around their friends, they hang around their crew, they hang around their ilk, they hang around their fellow travelers, they hang around their like-minded Confederates and compatriots, and they think that everybody in the world kind of thinks like that. And when you're in a world of applause, see, that's why when you're in a newsroom, and the people around you say, hey, man, that's great, that's cool, or you're kind of the top dog, or you're perceived to be cool, or you're perceived to be whatever the hell it is that you're perceived to be. But people will find that they will mimic what you're saying and they will mirror what you're saying, and within the course of the newsroom, people are going to be saying pretty much the same thing and replicating, repeating, and echoing echolalically this particular mantra. Well, that's great. But for the rest of the people, for the rest of the country, and let me not say that America, when you talk about, Main Street, down home, it sounds like they're kind of like unsophisticated. No. Let me tell you something. If I owned a restaurant and I found out that anybody did anything in my restaurant, my chain, let's say, to distance myself from everybody, from certain factions, I would probably kill that person. Forget firing them. I would kill them. Surreptitiously, clandestinely, I would take their life. Because they would be doing something where they would be branding my particular business with this way of thinking. There's this, remember a while back, there were these stories where everybody would go into a restaurant, fast food place, and on the ticket, somebody would write something racial or something anti-Semitic or anti-Asian or describing, what this party looks like. And the party would get the ticket back, take a picture of it, and then, pardon me, I have a lot of, had some ghost pepper stuff this morning, and woo! Anyway, so they would write that somebody would take a picture, and then you would say that KFC or Hardee's or McDonald's or whatever it was did not like Asians, and then they'd have to issue an apology. I would kill people who did that. Why? Because you're connecting a business with a way of thinking that is not representative of anybody and hurtful. That's what Hollywood's doing. That's what mainstream media are doing. But they're so insulated within their own world, they're missing the point completely. And that's what's happening right now. Now, this week, there's a show, Mika Brzezinski, who, by the way, has been a source of so much fun for me she's a very nice person, very nice. And now I've got something in my teeth. Don't you hate that? She's a very nice person. I was on Morning Joe once, and very nice. We talked about something. It was Charlie Hebdo. But Mika Brzezinski is always kind of like, what is she? What is her role there? This is Big Nev's daughter, and her. Pardon me, I'm picking my teeth. Biggie Smalls, is probably one of the most diabolically evil people on the face of the earth. I mean, he is just the Dark Lord, the Polish prince, this self-styled Polish aristocrat. Talk about Russophobic. Talk about a Russophobic policy that basically created, in many respects, Bin Laden, created Afghanistan, created the Mujahideen, created Al-Qaeda in order to get back at Russia. Because his whole focus, he had a hard-on for Russia. Russia. Oh, my God. And at the time, remember when Jimmy Carter was given the job, don't forget that, 2 things he was told by the deep state. 2 people who he had to take. It's Big Brzezinski and also, oh, God. What is his name? The huge Fed chair. What is his name? Damn it. The guy who's enormous. Fed chair, Carter. I see him with a cigar. Paul Volcker. Paul Volcker he came with a deal, and so did Big, okay? And that's Mika's father, or as my friend calls her, Meager. And she's on Morning Joke. And for the longest time, she always had this thing where she was like the turd in the punch bowl, the perpetually pissed off school mom. Oh, stop it! Would you stop it, please? And I would watch this. I'm thinking, what is this? Who designed this role? What is she? Just pissed off, miffed. She's the turd in the punch bowl. Anybody's having a good time, she'd kill it. Well, would you stop it? She would just introduce people. There was a time when she would get up and hug everybody because she didn't know what the hell she was talking about. She was there. And then for years, there were some suggestions that she and Joe were, more than friends. And it turns out that was true. Okay, fine. So now she's here. And then she went off for a while and she talked about herself. And she was a mother and she's a woman. She tried the thing with Ariana Huffington. Remember when they went this women's empowerment thing or whatever the hell it was? I don't know where the hell she would go around the country, and then that died. She was trying to find herself. She was trying to find. I'll never forget one time my wife and I were at a Broadway show. I don't know which one it was. And it was before a curtain. We were there sitting in our seats, and Mika was there. And I swear to God, I know what I'm saying. She walked down the aisle, was trying to see somebody in the front row, or in the first rows. But she wanted everybody in the theater to see her. Everybody. These theaters aren't that big to begin with, but it was almost like, look, here I am. Yes, it's me. Okay. So here she is. Her brother was, ambassador? Chris, or whatever his name is, I think. I don't know. Ambassador to something under Obama. Brzezinski came out for Obama. Brzezinski was part of that set. And there's Mika. What is she? She's not a bad person, don't get me wrong, but I mean, she's just trying to find her whatever. Well, the show kind of picked up and got to be going. This is Morning Joe with Joe Scarborough. And Joe would, I remember when he would have his glasses off, and then he'd wear his glasses. He had those Mr. Moto kind of glasses, you always have those glasses where your contacts don't work, and you wear them, and for the first time you wear them, and you look like, what the hell's the matter with you? What are those glasses? Well, my contacts I've got an infection or conjunctivitis or whatever it was. Anyway, so he would do there, and they kind of get into their groove, and it was kind of like the show to watch. people were, in Washington watching that show. Everybody wants to see that show. And it became kind of inside Hollywood, inside Washington. And then it became, but then it just kind of derailed. There was nothing there anymore. You had to have something. Let me tell you something right now. I don't care what it is that you do. I don't care, especially if you're in anything. Radio, platforming, podcasting, TV, whatever. Writing, written word. Do not have the audience wonder what the hell you're about. Don't be wishy-washy. Have a position, stick to it. CNN is doubling down now on being the anti-Trump network. I mean, they are just, they are going nuts. And that will work. America loves a work. And they love crazy. And that's crazy. They're going to be the anti-Fox. MSDNC never had a coherent footing. When Rachel Maddow came on board, and she's a very nice person. She really is. We were colleagues together at Air America, and she's very nice, but came across at first as the wonkish, smart, and that's very good. She actually made smart attractive. And women went crazy. When she told people she was gay, I never saw anything like it. Women were nuts. They loved her. Loved her. I love Rachel Maddow. She had it going. I don't know what. Great. Whatever works for you. Because it's whatever. I don't care. Because there's something mysterious still about people's sexuality. There's something sometimes when you, and women especially, because women have, all right, this is my sideline statement here. Women have a different idea of sexuality and being gay than men do. And the reason why is, as you know, women are superior to men intellectually and emotionally. And women understand something called intimacy. Women can find other women sexually and emotionally and intimately appealing in ways that a man could never find with another man. Men, sex. She's hot. Men can have their kind of a, bromance, so to speak, that's not sexual. Oh, it has its homoerotic aspects to it. But women will absolutely go nuts. I know, not every woman, but a bunch of them, in how beautiful a woman is, how gorgeous a woman is, how hot a woman is. But beautiful, sexy, they have no compunction whatsoever saying that. Whatsoever. None. You never hear a man saying that. You never hear a lot of men saying that. Women can do it, though, differently. And the reason why is in addition to the fact that they can see multiple tiers of sexual attraction other than pure in the sack doing it, which is what men think, just doing it. That's it. Men, not exactly the deepest, doing it. That's it. That's it. I'm sorry. Men. It's true. But they understand, again, these flavors of attraction and flavors of erotic and flavors of intimacy and level. Let me also tell you something why I think this is important. I don't know how I got into this, but I'm here, so it's my show, and I'm going to go there. There is something universally attractive about women. Let me throw this out now, because now as we go into gender migration and the like, and transgender, we're having just a variety of this. But for the most part, bear with me. There is something that men and women find universally appealing about women. And the reason why that has been prototypically, universally, for the most part, true, is that we must appreciate woman as mother. Mother is the sustainer of life. Mother, we suckle at our mother's teat. Our mothers raise us, for the most part. In the wild, the mother gives birth. The connection between a mother and a child transcends anything that a man or any other relationship could ever involve. It transcends love, sibling. It is when you grow in a woman, you actually become a part of her. You are a part of her cosmically, organically, chemically, systematically, whatever you want to call it, spiritually. It's fascinating. And it transcends usual human connectivity. Okay. The reason why women then are therefore appealing to both men and women is because of the fact that we must have an appreciation and attraction factor for women because of mother. If we find women distasteful, if we don't find them nurturing, if we're not given kind of a little bit of a leg up when it comes to those attraction factors, we're dead. Nature specifies that. Nature prefers that. Nature orients and expresses and frames that way. Okay. So when you have also a member of the species, the gender, I'm so sorry, my nose, that tends to be much, much brighter, much more aware. Women are better communicators. Women think more. Women, sometimes to our chagrin, women are much more wanting to discuss your feelings, aware of what's going on. How do you feel? Very important. How do you feel? Tell me. Watch two prototypical women talk to each other at a bar, close to each other, two men apart. Two men, how you doing? Fine, everything great, terrific. We don't talk to each other. There's no sentience, there's no connectivity. Not like women, no. Why? Because nature prefers a woman to be able to look at her breed and brood and passel and her cub, or whatever you want to call it, and notice how it is doing when it is not communicative. A baby cannot speak, so mother has to be able to understand what it's thinking. So she has to be able to be more aware of feelings and unspoken. That's why it carries over oftentimes into the real world, and there's more of a desire to speak more, to communicate more, much to, dare I say again, the chagrin of many the male. Okay? That's a fascinating thing. There are tremendous differences between organic female species and then, this is important, the physiognomy, the morphology, the expression is a different story. I'm fascinated to see, as we look along the spectrum from, if there is such a thing, classic male-female, and we move to, let's say, different variations, gender migration, up to and including actual hermaphroditic and pseudo-hermaphroditic variations as well, and you're getting away, still Y chromosome, still X chromosome, still whatever it is, Klinefelters, notwithstanding, it's interesting to see how that affects the inherent ability of women to enjoy and express that which is prototypically female. If you think for a moment that men and women are equal, you're out of your mind. There's no hope for you. There's no such thing as equality in biology, in the real world. Absolutely not. Now, what's interesting to note is as we get into the real world, back to news again, and I hope you enjoyed my brief momentary foray into genetics and life, because I was talking about Rachel Maddow and how people went crazy, women went nuts over her. Rachel, when it comes to news thing, is trying to find herself. She's got two people breathing down her neck. You got Greta Van Susteren, who, I don't know, and Megyn Kelly, who absolutely, to me, is going to flop so incredibly. Here's what I want you to do, and what I want you to take away, and especially a lot of you who are yourselves doing this, and I beg, do this. Have your own YouTube channel. It's easy. Do it. Put your thoughts down. This is your journal. This is your philosophy. Be able to give this to your grandkids one day. I don't know. I mean, do it. But the first thing is I want you to figure out who you are. And I want you to be able to connect to people. And one of the things about connecting, which is the most interesting, is that thing which human beings cannot explain. To connect. You know, I am every day so in love with this platform. The emails I get one from Lebanon, from Perth, from Donegal, from France, Lisbon, Canada even. No kidding, Canada. I kid, but. And one of the things that's interesting is, and I try to do this, and I want you to think about this. As I'm talking to you, I'm looking at a little hole in a laptop, the green light. But when I talk to you, I imagine a person in front of me. I imagine this person looking at me. And I imagine how the person would react, making eye contact, looking and trying to follow, and maybe looking confused. And it's tough because when you're talking to somebody and they look confused or look daft or aghast or confused, whatever it is, you can change and reorient. This is a different story. This is the beauty of this. This is the beauty of this. And what has to be done on any of these platforms is to connect and to speak and to find out what it is. I mean, because you can say anything you want, but to find out what it is that people will want to listen. I could be a communist, a conspiracist, a Marxist, a nihilist, whatever it is. But as long as there's that physical connection thing that's there, we are golden. Rachel Maddow had it to an extent. Mika's trying it because she's using too many people around her. This is the old Radio Zoo format. You ever hear these? Do you have a zoo, one of these stupid radio things in the morning where you have like 10,000 people talking at the same time and somebody's bound to say something funny? It's ancient. It's archaic. It's anachronistic. It's a waste of time. Okay? Now, she is, in a sense, doing that kind of, sort of. She is herself. And Morning Joe is that weird kind of, I don't know what that thing is. That strange amalgam. Mike Barnacle? Oh my God. Mike Barnacle? All right. So let me wrap this up. Mainstream media, stop talking about how you're being affected. Nobody wants to hear your own particular travails. Nobody wants to hear about you. You're reporting on yourself. For God's sakes, nobody cares. And by the way, let me stop for just a second. Let me just say this on a personal note. And this means a lot. Your emails are terrific. I must tell you, there are some people who write these emails. This kills me. And they'll say, I want you to have so-and-so as a guest. And I'm thinking, I don't want to have a guest. I'm not interested. I wrote you about having this person on a guest and he's still not on, and I don't know why you haven't had this person on yet. And it's like, oh, excuse me, are you telling me what to do? What do you think about this? I saw this article. What do you think about this? You haven't written me back and just told me what you think about this. sometimes you get letters of like 10, 15 points. I'm not going to go through them. I don't have time to respond. It's a sense of, I work for you? What? You pay me? I don't know. It's weird. It's the minority of cases. Don't get me wrong. But even those people, I'll take you and paying attention to me than the finest people in the world. And I mean that sincerely. Okay. That's all. Got a lot of stuff, a lot of good guests coming up, by the way. Don't want to say too much now about, if you have any guest ideas that we can do on Skype, let me know. It's always fun to do. In any event, like this particular video. I'm belching. I'm eructating. I'm waxing borborygmic. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And always comment as you see fit.